If you entered the Terracotta Warriors competition, don't go away because Mark, Karen and Yvette will have the results in today's Blue Peter, which follows Newsround, presented for us this afternoon by Helen Rollison.
The millions of refugees from Afghanistan. Could the world's biggest tragedy soon be over? Hello again. 10 British charities have joined together to try and bring people's attention to what they claim is the biggest human tragedy in the world today. They're talking about the millions of people who have fled from their homes in the Central Asian country of Afghanistan. The country, which is next to the Soviet Union, has been torn by war for 8 years. Despite new attempts to end the fighting, thousands are still leaving every month. Roger reports.
The war in Afghanistan began when thousands of Soviet troops swept in 8 years ago. They said the Afghan government had asked them for help in fighting rebels trying to take over the country. The rebels, called Mujahideen, took to the hills, and the fighting has dragged on ever since. Nearly 1 million people have been killed, and 1/4 of all villages have been destroyed. Most of the people were farmers, and the wars made life impossible for them. So millions have fled, often walking for weeks to escape to neighboring countries. 2 million have gone to Iran. 3 million have gone to Pakistan, and 3 million more are homeless inside Afghanistan. Altogether, half the country's population has left home. Thousands arrive at camps in Pakistan every month. Aid agency trucks often carry the refugees the last few miles. Many are allowed in and get food and water from the Pakistan government and the United Nations. But the refugees aren't always welcome, and many can't get into the camps. Thousands, most of them women and children, have to find shelter where they can and depend on charity organisations for food. Now 10 British charities have called for more help to be given to them. They also want food sent into Afghanistan itself, so people don't have to leave their homes to find it. The Soviet Foreign Minister, Mr. Shevardnadze, says he now hopes that all Soviet troops will leave Afghanistan this year. It's not certain that would end the fighting, but even if it does, British charities say the refugees still need a lot of help to rebuild their lives and homes.
6 people and their 2 pet dogs have been rescued from a German ship which got into trouble off the Norfolk coast. During the rescue, more than 40 men from a nearby gas platform had to be taken to safety because of fears that the ship might smash into it. Kim Riley reports.
After being pounded in a Force 11 gale, the grain carrier Basto began listing heavily after one of its holds flooded. Men on a nearby gas platform were taken off as a precaution. The ship's crew, who'd feared for their lives, were winched into a rescue helicopter. Skipper Arnie Thielen, full of praise for the RAF's efforts.
Very good.
A happy ending too for the ship's dogs, Lulu and Napoleon. Helicopter pilot Jim Goodburn and his winchman plucked them to safety from the heaving deck.
The crew actually brought their own dogs up. We sent each member of the crew up with 1 dog, so 2 dogs, 2 crew, and there was no real problem at all in the end. And I think they both enjoyed their ride home to the hospital.
The Basto is still afloat and the crew are hoping to rejoin her tomorrow. But not Napoleon and Lulu, who are looking forward to a rather less eventful journey back to Germany.
The government is being asked to spend an extra £1 million on research into a rare disease that can affect children. The disease is called meningitis. It's an infection of parts of the brain and spine. It can sometimes make people very ill. There are an unusual number of cases of the disease in Britain at the moment, but doctors say outbreaks of meningitis come and go in cycles, and people shouldn't panic. Experts say the cases in different parts of the country aren't connected, and in many areas nearly all the patients with meningitis are now getting better. One health authority has set up a special telephone line for people who are worried.
Remember, as distressing as this recent outbreak of meningitis is, it is still a rare disease.
Parents are also told there's no need to keep children away from school in areas where there are cases of meningitis, but anyone who's worried should go and see the doctor at once. It looks as if the most popular form of transport in Southeast Asia could be on the way out. In some busy cities, cars are finally taking over from the traditional 3-wheeled bikes with special seats for passengers. In Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, they're known as macaques. For years, they've been the cheapest, easiest and most popular way of getting around town. But times are changing. There are more cars, motorbikes and buses, and the motor drivers say macaques not only get in the way, they also cause accidents. So there's been a crackdown. Thousands of macaques are being thrown onto scrap heaps as their owners are forbidden to drive them anymore. For the drivers who used to work, eat and sleep in their macaques, it's the end of a way of life. Some have gone on to drive taxis, others have packed their bags and left. Animal lovers in the Canadian province of British Columbia have launched a big rescue operation after an accident caused the death of several rare bald eagles. Many of these eagles, symbol of the United States, migrate to the area for the winter, and when poisoned food was left out by mistake, the birds ate it. The local people found the first sick eagle last weekend, then more and more of them until it was clear a mystery disaster had happened. Eventually, 28 were recovered, but before long the source of the problem was traced to a particular farm. A cow had died after being given a large dose of drugs. When the eagles swooped to feed on the animal, they ate the drugs as well. Soon, 5 were dead. Others had trouble flying because the drug made them dizzy and very cold. Wildlife workers took those which were still alive to local animal hospitals. They were in a bad way, but with a bit of help from the vets, they soon started to get better. Some of the eagles, perhaps the less greedy ones, weren't too sick, and the vets have already been able to release one of them back into the wild. And finally, a happier bird story. A budgie who flew away from his Nottinghamshire home soon made sure he was rescued very quickly. Georgie Porgy flew half a mile to a garden in his home village of Keyworth and then got his finder to phone home. Graham Simmons reports.
He's a beautiful boy. George is a beautiful boy.
He seemed quite glad to be back home today, although the idea of being back behind bars seemed rather less appealing. Georgie not only talks 19 to the dozen, but he also enjoys getting out and about for a chat. So when his owner, Alp Hart, left his back door wide open, Georgie needed no second invitation.
Well, I didn't think I'd ever see him again. Because the things he said, the things he did, I thought that the first person that picked him up would never ever return him again.
After slipping out the door, Georgie flew half a mile from Alf's house at one end of Keyworth to June Watkinson's house at the other. He was found outside in the garden, in a tree where he'd evidently stopped off to get his breath back. He was brought indoors to share a cage with June's budgerigar Peter, and it was then, to her astonishment, that he chirped out his name and Alf's telephone number, Plumtree 4516.
Oh, I thought it was quite amazing, really. A lot of budgies can talk, but not quite as well as this one.
Despite our very best efforts today, Georgie wasn't about to repeat the number for our benefit. After all, you don't go around telling any old Tom, Dick and Harry your home phone number. In fact, as our man with the microphone moved in to try to tease out a short quote, he got quite an earful.
What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing?
He's a clever boy then. That's all from Newsround today. Don't forget, Newsround Extra is back again tomorrow. Bye for now.
Roger Finn travels to the jungles of Belize tomorrow to report on the campaign to save the American continent's most beautiful big cat, the jaguar. On the trail of the cat that doesn't roar. Newsround Extra, tomorrow at 4:55.
Mixed beautiful animals. Looking forward to that. I'm sorry, can I help you? What's the matter? Oh, apparently there are dinosaurs on Blue Peter this afternoon. What's that? Your dad's on the show, is he? Look.